In my previous life, a wealthy lady threw 1 million at me and asked me to divorce my husband. I refused firmly no matter what. However, my husband smothered me to death just to prevent me from getting in the way of his entering the wealthy family. Having been reborn, that wealthy lady once again threw 1 million at me. I wiped my tears and wailed. What you want is my beloved husband. You have to pay more. 1 million and you divorce Lucas immediately. The noble lady sitting opposite me stirred her coffee gently and slowly pushed out a check. The amount on it was exactly 1 million. Lucas, sitting beside the noble lady, hugged his arms smugly. Isabella, I'm the young master of the Grace family. You a bumpkin are no longer worthy of me. Hurry up and sign the divorce agreement. You'll never be able to enter the gate of the Grace family. TSK, clearly lacking the aura of a wealthy family, yet still trying to put on the airs of a young master. It looked so out of place. He really was like a clown. In my heart, I despised this scumbag who was about to abandon his wife before even fully entering the wealthy family. But on the surface, I still grabbed Lucas's sleeve and cried with snot and tears all over my face. Grace, Lucas and I have been together for 5 years. Why must you break us up? Lucas, don't you forget that we've been together since college? Lucas pushed my hand away in disgust. Let go. You've wrinkled my clothes. This piece of clothing is very expensive. You can't afford to pay for it. Had I known that I was the young master of the Grace family, there's no way I would have been with a pauper like you. The one who can match me is of course a young lady from a family as wealthy as the Grace family. Grace frowned impatiently. I'll give you 2 million. Divorce quickly and don't ever show up in front of us again. Seeing that the play had gone on long enough, I wiped away my tears and said, Grace wants my beloved husband. You have to pay more. A fixed price 10 million. Without 10 million I won't sign even if I die. Don't even think about killing me to silence me. I've already made full preparations before coming here. If I disappear mysteriously, the police will immediately know about my death. Grace and Lucas's faces turned pale. Probably they didn't expect that I would ask for such a huge sum of 10 million. And that I had even prepared for my possible death. Haha, if I hadn't been reborn, I wouldn't have thought of it either. Just because he was the young master of the Grace family who had been lost since childhood. Just because I refused to sign the divorce agreement. Just because he thought it would be embarrassing to bring me into the wealthy Grace family. Just because he wanted to marry a wealthy young lady. So, my husband, with whom I had been in love for 2 years and married for 3 years, smothered me to death on the bed with a pillow. Thank goodness, I'm back. Of course, I won't repeat the same mistake. This divorce is bound to happen. But before the divorce, it's not too much to ask for compensation for my lost youth and for the death I suffered, right? Grace was clearly reluctant. But Lucas had been a poor guy for too long. Now that he suddenly learned that he was a young master of a wealthy family, he couldn't wait to get rid of me, his old and unattractive wife. Immediately, he said to Grace, Mom, our family is rich anyway. Just use 10 million to get rid of this woman. I'm the young master of the Grace family who's going to marry a young lady from a family of equal status. We can't let her pester us. Not noticing the cold glint that flashed in Grace's eyes, Lucas kept chattering away, imagining a happy future of marrying a wealthy young lady. Sitting opposite them, I saw everything clearly. I wasn't in a hurry at all. With Lucas as this unexpected helper, Grace would have to pay the money even if she was reluctant. Sure enough, after a while, Grace agreed. 10 million, it's a deal. But you have to sign the divorce agreement right now. I readily agreed. No problem. The lawyers of the Grace family arrived very quickly. In just 10 minutes, their lawyers rushed over with the drafted divorce agreement. I took the agreement and looked at it. Apart from those complicated professional terms that I couldn't understand, the general meaning was that after the divorce, the two parties would have nothing to do with each other. In the future, I couldn't use any reason to disturb the Grace family or harass Lucas anymore. I took a veiled look at Grace, who was calm and composed. As expected of someone from a big family. She had thought it through thoroughly. In this way, even if Lucas disappeared in the future, no one would make a fuss about this matter anymore. The Grace family would naturally be much safer. I twirled the pen in my hand and didn't sign for a long time. Lucas urged impatiently. What are you dawdling for? Sign quickly. Goodness, he was really afraid that I would go back on my word. I leaned comfortably on the soft seat. What's the rush? Your lawyers are here, but mine is still on the way. Grace paused for a moment while holding her coffee, but she didn't say anything. Lucas asked hurriedly, Your lawyer? What do you need a lawyer for? I looked at Grace with a faint smile and said, Of course it's to ask Grace to write a gift declaration for that 10 million. What if I sign the divorce agreement first and then Grace takes the money back? Lucas was very dissatisfied with my petty behavior. Look at your stingy and shabby appearance. You're really not presentable. My mom is a wealthy lady. 10 million is just the price of a handbag for her. How could she renege on her promise to you? A hint of guilt and embarrassment showed on Grace's face. Oh, it seemed that I guessed right. I patted my chest and put on a very scared look. I'm timid, so of course I have to be prepared. You two are a wealthy lady and a young master. Surely you won't haggle with a commoner like me, right? This flattering words made Lucas feel very comfortable. He waved his hand generously. For the sake of your being so inexperienced, I won't argue with you. I secretly laughed to myself. He didn't have to pay the money himself, yet he was so generous with other people's money. Look at Grace's white-knuckled fingers. I'm afraid he won't get away with it when he goes back. After my lawyer arrived, he read through the agreement drafted by the Grace family's lawyer and nodded to me, indicating that there was no problem. Lucas quickly said, Can you sign it now? I tapped on the table and said, I can sign it, but a condition has to be added to the agreement. All the property at home belongs to me and you leave with nothing. Lucas was stunned for a moment, and then glared at me angrily. Isabella, how dare you ask me to leave with nothing? I couldn't help but roll my eyes. Lucas, don't forget your identity. You've already returned to the Grace family. You can have anything you want. Do you still have to fight with me over that little savings, cars, and houses? Grace was clearly worried that something unexpected might happen if things dragged on. She urged Lucas. She's right. The Grace family has everything. Why are you still arguing with her over that little property? Lucas's expression relaxed. All right, you can have it all. After the agreement was finalized, we quickly signed our names. All we had to do was wait for a month to get the divorce certificate. Before leaving, Lucas arrogantly raised his chin at me, revealing a sharp jawline. Just live on this little money for the rest of your life, bumpkin. I very gracefully gave him the middle finger. After I died in my previous life because of my resentment, my soul had been following Lucas all the time. Therefore, I also learned that the reason Grace brought Lucas back to the Grace family wasn't because of family reunion at all. It was because of a shocking conspiracy. It was true that Lucas was the young master of the Grace family. However, Grace wasn't his biological mother. He was just the result of a brief affair between the late President Alexander and his mistress. Although President Alexander was promiscuous, he had always been careful and never caused any trouble outside that led to an illegitimate child before. Lucas's mother had some improper thoughts and used some means to have him. Unfortunately, President Alexander didn't fall for the idea that a mother could gain status through her son. So, in a fit of anger, Lucas's mother took Lucas and left. Until she died of illness 10 years ago, she never saw President Alexander again. With such a promiscuous husband, Grace could still maintain her position without being shaken. Besides her family background, her own intelligence and ability couldn't be underestimated. Such a woman wouldn't be so stupid as to bring an illegitimate son back to compete with her own son for family property. The reason she came to find Lucas now was entirely because Grace's son William had uremia. He needed a kidney transplant. Coincidentally, the reason Grace discovered Lucas's existence was that I was an employee of the Grace Group. I happened to see him coming to look for me in the parking lot. When Grace saw Lucas, who looked so much like her husband, she immediately arranged for all the company's employees and their families to have physical examinations. Since I could save some money on the physical examination fee, I naturally happily asked Lucas to come along. And this just happened to make it convenient for Grace to arrange for people to do tests and compatibility checks for Lucas and William. The results of the examination made Grace both happy and angry. She was happy because her son could be saved. She was angry because her husband had an illegitimate son. But it didn't matter. Anyway, after the kidney transplant, Lucas would become a useless person. At that time, wouldn't the life and death of this useless person still be in her hands? Therefore, Lucas lived a luxurious life. He thought that his fortune had changed and that he was going to live the good life of a young master. However, he didn't know that this was just like a big meal for a pig before it was slaughtered. After he got in good health, he would be sent to the slaughterhouse. But all of this had nothing to do with me anymore. Our relationship as husband and wife had already been suffocated by him with a pillow in my previous life. Now, I just wanted to see how he would fall into hell. After getting 10 million, the first thing I did was to list the small house I was currently living in with a real estate agency. Then I quickly went to a new housing estate to look at new houses. My requirements weren't high. It just needed to be a finely decorated existing house with good security measures. Having been reborn, I couldn't repeat the same mistakes and fall into the hands of scumbags again. After a week of house viewing and investigation, I finally settled on a finely decorated small 3-bedroom apartment relatively close to the city center. People needed to use face recognition or access cards to enter and leave this community. There were also security guards patrolling in the morning, at noon, and in the evening. What's more, there was a police station nearby. Feeling extremely secure, I bought it in full payment on the spot. After leaving the sales center, I immediately felt refreshed. I decided to reward myself by having a delicious meal. Just when I was eating heartily, 2 men suddenly passed by me. The younger one looked like a college student and seemed a bit familiar. I couldn't help but look at him a few more times. He was begging the other middle-aged man bitterly. "Mr. Wu, our game is really great. It will definitely make a lot of money in the future. Please think about it again." The man called Mr. Wu impatiently shook off the young man's hand. "Come on. With your crappy game, even a sow could climb a tree if it could make money." So it was about seeking investment for starting a business. I turned my head, not very interested. Suddenly, a flash of light went through my mind. Wait. I remembered who this young man was. I quickly finished eating the big chicken leg in my hand and rushed forward in one step to grab the corner of the young man's clothes who was about to leave disappointedly. "Don't go yet. Let me have a look at your game." The young man looked at my ordinary clothes, and the joy on his face quickly disappeared. I twitched the corners of my mouth. "Hey, what's with that expression? Although I'm dressed a bit shabbily, I still have some money now." With that, I took out the invoice for buying the house and waved it in front of his eyes. "Look, the invoice for the house I just bought." The young man's eyes lit up, and he hugged my thigh and shouted at the top of his voice. "Rich lady, please take care of me." Under the various gazes of the people around, I patted his head. "Be good. Let sister pat you. This young man is called Henry. He will become a big shot in Odom games in the future." A series of mobile love games developed by the team led by him have been widely praised by women and became extremely popular across the country as soon as they were launched. I saw others playing it when I was still a wandering spirit. Those male characters in the game were really so charming. If I could still play mobile games at that time, maybe I would have been one of the players who spend a lot of money on in-game purchases. So when I saw Henry's project proposal and was sure that he was the Henry who developed Odom games, I didn't hesitate to make a decision. "Great. I'll invest in this game. How much money do you need?" Henry was dumbfounded. "Well, don't you want to think about it more?" I asked him strangely. "Think about what?" "I'm willing to invest." "Aren't you happy?" Henry stammered. "This isn't like buying groceries in a supermarket. It's such a large sum of money. Maybe you'll lose all your investment." I asked him in return, "Do you have so little confidence in yourself?" He immediately stiffened his neck and said, "Of course not. I believe our game will be a huge hit all over the internet." I slapped the table. "That's it. Young people should be more confident. Come on, I'll transfer the money to you after signing the contract." Henry. I moved very quickly. I spent over 1 million on buying a house in the morning. And in the afternoon, I spent 2 million on investing in Henry's studio. On the second day, based on my memories from my previous life, I invested several million in stocks that would soar. If things go smoothly, I won't have to worry about food and clothing for the rest of my life even if I don't work. I can already imagine the wonderful scene of money rolling towards me and burying me. After finishing all these things, I hummed a tune and continued to go to work leisurely. My colleagues joked with me one after another, asking if I had picked up some money recently as I was so happy. I smiled and bought each of them a cup of milk tea. I dumped that scumbag. Congratulate me. My colleagues were stunned for a moment. When they realized what was going on, they didn't ask too many questions but congratulated me along with my intention. Congratulations on becoming single again. Unfortunately, my good mood didn't last long before it was interrupted by a familiar stranger. I was just delivering a document when I saw the flashy Lucas twirling a rose to flirt with a girl. To be fair, Lucas did have good looks. The girl was tickled pink by him. When he saw me, Lucas's movement paused for a moment. I pretended not to see him and walked straight past. Lucas didn't originally plan to pay attention to me either, but seeing that I didn't seem to want to recognize him, he got angry. Isabella, don't you even say hello when you see an acquaintance? TSK, you're really an ill-mannered country bumpkin. The girl asked curiously, young master, do you know her? Lucas pretended to be cool and flipped his hair. Not really. We're just college classmates. I used to see that she was poor and treated her to a few meals. He really had the nerve to say that. When we were in college, neither of us was well off. But when he was sick and hospitalized and in urgent need of money, I still didn't hesitate to give him all the few hundred yuan I had left. However, he only treated me to 2 meals after he was discharged from the hospital. And he never mentioned paying me back after that. He was actually shameless enough to show off such a thing. The girl who didn't know the truth let out an excited shriek. Wow! The young master is so kind. Unlike the eldest young master, who always has a straight face and looks so cold. Lucas said modestly with a smug look, I don't have many flaws. I just can't bear to see others suffering. The girl screamed even more exaggeratedly. I turned around expressionlessly and was about to leave. Running into 2 idiots even when I was at work. That was really enough. Lucas quickly blocked my way. Isabella, you must be very lonely recently, right? How about I introduce someone to you? My driver is quite good. Although Uncle Wang is over 40, he has a high salary. He's good enough for you. Ah, how annoying. Grace is so slow. Could this scumbag just die quickly? I looked at him with a faint smile and said, Lucas, don't overrate yourself. My young and cute boyfriend is so obedient and treats me so well. I've been with him every day recently and am having a great time. If I hadn't seen you today, I would have forgotten who you were. Lucas widened his eyes in disbelief. What? It's only been a few days and you've already cheated. I couldn't help but marvel at Lucas's thick skin. He was the one who asked for a divorce. He was also the one who told me not to pester him. Now that he heard that I was with another man, he flew into a rage. Why was I so blind in the past that I didn't realize he was such a man? I pointed to the group of his little fangirls behind him. Lucas, keep your voice down. We're just ordinary classmates. You don't want people to know that I'm the wife you abandoned, do you? Lucas's face full of anger suddenly froze. He swallowed his anger and reluctantly put on an innocent look. Go and get busy. Old classmate, we'll get together when we have time. I had just sat back in my seat for no more than 10 minutes when the department manager called me into the office. Isabella, you're fired. Pack your things and leave the company now. I was so shocked that I propped my hands on the office desk. Manager Zhao, I don't think there was anything wrong with my work. Why am I being fired? Manager Zhao sighed and told me vaguely, I'm also very confused about this question. I asked the HR department, and they said it was the decision from above. I clenched my fists, closed my eyes, and said, thank you, Manager Zhao. I understand. Haha, besides that scumbag Lucas, who else could it be? As soon as I walked out of the office, I made a phone call. What exactly do you want? Lucas arrogantly said on the other end of the phone, I'm in the underground parking lot. If you want to keep your job, come here alone. Listen, the walking corpse is talking. The place Lucas chose was very secluded. There was nobody around and no surveillance cameras either. As soon as he saw me, Lucas started bossing me around, arrogant ally. Isabella, I know you like this job very much, right? Well, as long as you obediently kneel down and lick my shoes clean, I won't fire you. How about it? It's a pretty good deal, isn't it? He was right. I did cherish this job indeed. Both of my parents were ordinary workers, and our family's financial situation could only be described as having enough to eat and wear. I never went on the trips organized by the school every year because I couldn't bear the cost of several hundred yuan. So as soon as I graduated from college, I fought hard among a bunch of graduates and managed to enter the Grace Group. It provided food and accommodation, overtime pay, holiday subsidies, and also the 5 social insurances and 1 housing fund. It enabled me to save a large amount of money every month. If there were no accidents, I hoped to work in the Grace Group until I retired. However, now I've changed my mind. Looking at Lucas's detestable face, the resentment that had been smothered inside me finally burst out all at once. Taking advantage of his being complacent and not paying attention, I took out the pepper spray from my pocket and sprayed it hard at his eyes. Ah! He was caught off guard and got sprayed right in the eyes, letting out a shrill scream. I then took out the rolling pin I just bought and whipped it hard on his body. Smack. I'll teach you a lesson for abandoning your wife for wealth. Ah! How dare you hit me, smack. I'll teach you a lesson for plotting to kill for money. Ah! I didn't plot to kill for money. Smack. How dare you talk back? I say you did, then you did. Ah! I did. Please stop hitting me. Smack. Since you've admitted it, why can't I hit you? It hurts so much, you damn woman. Stop hitting me. After whipping him for 10 minutes, I finally stopped. It wasn't because he was almost beaten to death. It was because I was tired from hitting him. After venting my anger like this, the world seemed much nicer. I stretched myself and kicked him with my toe. Lucas, I heard you were going to fire me. Lucas was lying on the ground, curled up like a shrimp, sweating profusely. He shook his head feebly. Don't dare, I sneered, so what the HR department said about firing me was just nonsense. He forced a smile that was uglier than crying. Yes, they were talking nonsense. Look how arrogant this scumbag was before. And now he's such a coward. I kicked him again. Call me daddy. Lucas growled angrily in a low voice. A gentleman would rather be killed than humiliated. You? I whipped the rolling pin on his waist again. Call me daddy. He bit his lip and didn't say a word. I raised the rolling pin and was about to hit him again. Lucas shivered with fright and quickly shouted in a voice as soft as a mosquito's, Daddy, smack. I whipped his leg. Didn't you have breakfast? Louder. I raised the rolling pin higher and higher, and finally, he couldn't hold it anymore and shouted loudly, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. Ah, I declare that this is the most wonderful sound I've ever heard in my life. I whipped him again with satisfaction. Get lost. I don't have a scoundrel like you as a son. He stood up tremblingly and asked cautiously, Can I go now? I said casually, Squat down. He immediately did as he was told. I said, Didn't you just want to fire me and make me leave? I've decided to do as you wished. However, it's not that you fire me. It's me who quits the Grace Group. You tell the HR department to issue a statement that it's a non-fault dismissal and the Grace Group has to compensate me with 3 months' salary. Do you hear me? Lucas didn't dare to say a word and could only nod obediently. I hugged my arms and sneered. I know what you're thinking. You just want to make trouble for me after you leave safely and tamper with my resignation procedures, right? Having his thoughts exposed, Lucas's face looked terribly ugly. You should be planning to take over the Grace Group while President Alexander is hospitalized, right? I've already recorded everything that just happened and sent it to my lawyer friend. Listen carefully. If you dare to lay a finger on me, whether I'm dead, injured, or missing, this video and the story of you abandoning your wife to enter the wealthy family will be made public on the internet. Guess if the board of directors of the Grace Group will want a President Alexander who is surrounded by scandals? I knocked his face insultingly with the rolling pin. If you don't believe me, just give it a try. Under the deterrence of the rolling pin, Lucas could only obediently do as I said. After getting the compensation, I left the Grace Group without looking back. Even if he hadn't fired me, I didn't want to stay there anymore. God knows if I continued to work there, would I be killed by Lucas again. I've decided that before Lucas's kidney is taken away, I'll stay away from him and the Grace family. So, after changing my house, I also changed my mobile phone number. Except for my family members and a few good friends, nobody else could find me. In this way, I started living a life of a homebody. However, being a homebody didn't mean that I was cut off from the outside world. After several rounds of tests, the Autumn Love mobile game developed by Henry and his team was finally launched on the market. According to Henry's report, several million players registered on the first day of the game's release. And the number of players was steadily increasing. The stocks I bought before were the same, hitting new highs again and again. I made a fortune. My wish of lying on a pile of money and counting it has come true, but that wasn't enough. Relying on the memories of my previous life, I used the money I earned to buy several second-hand houses that were going to be demolished. Later, I took over a cat cafe. In this way, even if I didn't go out to work in the future, I could support myself just by the income from the cat cafe. Just when I was happily counting my money, an old colleague sent me a message. Lucas had been driven out of the gate of the Grace Group. As I expected, Lucas was indeed planning to take over the Grace Group. After I left, he began to frequently move around among the senior management and shareholders of the Grace Group. Unfortunately, his weak abilities didn't match his inflated ambitions. He couldn't understand professional terms, messed up the documents, and put on airs at business banquets. The partners were so angry that they walked away on the spot. Moreover, Grace couldn't just watch this illegitimate son take away what belonged to her own son. After messing up several projects one after another, Lucas was driven out of the Grace Group by Grace. She said that he could come back when his abilities improved. That was quite a big promise. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that Lucas would only be the second young master for the rest of his life and would have no chance to get involved in the Grace Group. However, I knew that Lucas didn't have a future anymore. To celebrate this good news I ordered a cup of milk tea for everyone in Henry's studio. Happiness shared is doubled. Who would have thought that Henry, this guy, had the nerve to complain? Stingy. You only treat us to milk tea when you're treating. Come on. You're a rich lady. Could you please treat us to something high-end, elegant and in line with your status as a rich lady? He was so choosy even when he was getting something for free. I was getting angry. My fists clenched. But looking at everyone's tired and pale faces due to working overtime all day long, I softened my heart. After all, they were just college graduates who were still like big kids. 2 of them hadn't even graduated yet. So, I waved my hand and said magnanimously, "Arrange your time. I'll treat you to a day at the leisure center in the suburbs this Sunday." Yeah. Long live the rich lady's sister. These big kids cheered collectively. Henry touched his chin arrogantly. "Since you invited me sincerely, then I interrupted him expressionlessly. "Then you can stay here and work overtime." After getting along with him during this period of time, I figured out that this guy was the kind of person who would get carried away with just a little praise. I definitely couldn't be too polite to him. Henry pitifully grabbed my sleeve. "No, I'll go. I want to go." This time it was my turn to touch my chin arrogantly. "Since you begged me sincerely, I'll mercifully agree. However, you have to keep working hard after we come back and make more money for me." Henry wiped away the non-existent tears like a wronged little wife. "Damn it. I knew that you rich people were heartless." His funny appearance made us all burst out laughing. I have to say that staying with these young people made my mindset a bit younger too. Sure enough, this is what my wonderful life should be like. The leisure center in the suburbs was very famous. Because it was a holiday resort integrating bathing, catering, and entertainment. It was widely praised, but due to its high prices, there were few tourists. So when our group came over, there was no one else. It was like we had reserved the whole place. As soon as we arrived here, everyone scattered and went to the places they wanted to go. Since it was a rare chance to indulge myself here, I also went to take a comfortable hot spring bath. The things that rich people enjoy are really different from those of us ordinary people. I just took a hot spring bath, but I felt as if all the pores on my body had been opened. Both my body and mind were refreshed. It was so comfortable. Well, I've decided. I'll double the pressure on Henry when I go back. I'll keep making money and come here to play again. Just when I was sitting in the rest area drinking fruit juice and imagining the future, there was a commotion at the front desk. One of the voices happened to be Lucas's. There was also a girl standing beside him. Judging from her dress and temperament, she should be the daughter of a wealthy family. At this moment, Lucas was frowning and arguing with the lobby manager. No way. Swipe it again. The lobby manager said patiently, Mr. Lucas, the balance on this card is really insufficient. You'd better use another card. Lucas had to take out another card from his wallet and hand it to the cashier. But after a while, sorry, Mr. Lucas, the balance on this card is still insufficient. Pfft. I couldn't help laughing out loud. This caught the attention of Lucas and the girl. The girl looked at me curiously. Lucas asked me with an unfriendly look, Isabella, why are you here? I leaned lazily against the wall and said, of course I'm here to have fun. I didn't expect there would be such a big joke for me to watch. Oh, come on. The young master of the Grace family can't even afford it. I won't watch stand-up comedy without you in the future. Being ridiculed by me, Lucas was so angry that his chest heaved a few times. Isabella, don't go too far. I didn't bother to pay attention to him. Instead, I turned to the girl and said, Miss, you should keep your eyes wide open when choosing a man. A man like him who has no money to pay the bill when going out to play but still tries to put on a brave face is the worst. The girl nodded in agreement. That makes sense. With that, she took out a card from her bag and handed it to the cashier. Let me pay. Lucas, you helped me once before. Now I'm repaying your favor. In the future, we'll owe each other nothing. Nice. I liked girls who were willing to listen to advice. Lucas hurriedly explained, trying to win her back. Don't listen to her nonsense. You don't know that I have a feud with her. She's deliberately making things up about me. Dumeng, I really like you and want to be in a relationship with you. I couldn't help but interrupt, eager to add fuel to the fire. Oh, you like her, but you don't even have money to pay for going out to play. Also, you said we have a feud. Well, tell me, what's the feud between us? Lucas stammered and couldn't say a word for a long time. Of course, he couldn't say it. Whether it was him giving me a check to divorce me before, or me beating him up in the parking lot, these were all embarrassing things that he couldn't openly mention in front of the woman he was trying to court. Dumeng also asked back with a look of disgust, if you can't say it, there must be something fishy in your heart, right? I won't ask what's on your mind. Let's not see each other again in the future. After swiping the card, Dumeng nodded to me and then left quickly. Lucas glared at me resentfully. Are you happy now? I nodded with satisfaction. Satisfied. Seeing my enemy in an embarrassing situation, I can now eat 2 big bowls of plain rice. He angrily raised his hand and was about to swing it at me. But at this moment, a hand stretched out from behind me and firmly grasped his hand. I also took the opportunity to kick high. It hit the target right on. Ah! A scream echoed in the lobby of the leisure center. Lucas was sweating coldly from the pain and kept gasping for air. Seeing that the situation was not good, his driver immediately took him away and put him in the car. Henry proudly asked for praise. Sister, wasn't I amazing? There's a reward, right? I patted his head. Yes, there's a reward. I want to see the performance doubled in the next quarter. Otherwise, I'll spread the word online that you like men. Henry's face immediately turned into an expression like this. Damn it. You rich people are so heartless. I smiled and waved to him. Let's go. Let's go eat barbecue. Everyone is waiting for us. I renovated the cat cafe into the popular creamy style nowadays. Then I sent all the cats to have physical examinations and took them to the pet beauty salon for a makeover. On the opening day of the cat cafe, Henry was really kind and ordered afternoon tea for everyone in the studio. He also introduced quite a number of work partners here. Therefore, the business of the cat cafe was quite good. Just when I was doing really well, that plague Lucas came again. However, different from the well-dressed beast he used to be, he was especially embarrassed and in a wretched state today. There was mud on his trouser legs and knees. It seemed that he had fallen down. Lucas affectionately held my hand. Isabella, only now have I discovered my true feelings. Actually, it's always been you that I've loved. I disgustedly pushed his hand away. Spit it out if you have something to say. Don't touch me. Lucas looked at me pitifully and then continued to open his disgusting mouth and say some nauseating words. Isabella, I know that you've never forgotten me either. Now that I've come back to you, are you happy? I finally couldn't bear it anymore and threw the cat treat in my hand at him. Happy your ass? I don't know how happy I am after getting rid of you, this scumbag. Why the hell are you dangling in front of me? Do you know how expensive it is to wash my eyes? Lucas was so angry that blue veins popped out on his temples. I keenly noticed the cold glint that flashed in his eyes. But surprisingly, he didn't lose his temper. Instead, he played the role of a loving husband again. Isabella, let's remarry. Let's go abroad. Don't you want to enjoy the cherry blossoms, see the aurora, and visit the water city? After we remarry, I'll make up for all the honeymoons we didn't have before. Okay? Something's wrong. It's all wrong. The Lucas I knew wasn't so flexible. So there's only one truth. I smiled. Lucas, it seems that you've also been reborn. Because he was reborn, he wanted to escape from the cage of the Grace family. However, the timing of his rebirth was wrong. By now, he was already firmly in the hands of the Grace family. I guess it was not easy for him to escape. Coming to me must be because he couldn't bear to part with the 10 million in my hands. I'm afraid he was planning to trick me into going abroad, kill me, and then take the money and leave. Having his plan exposed, Lucas simply tore off his disguise. Isabella, be sensible and hand over the money. Otherwise, if I could kill you once, I can kill you a second time. I pointed behind him. Hey, someone's coming to catch you. He sneered continuously. Don't play tricks on me. I won't fall for your trap. Before he could finish speaking, he was pinned to the ground by a tall and strong man in black. It was the bodyguard I hired. Since I was reborn, I've hired bodyguards to protect myself. I did this just in case of this day. I stepped on his back and ground my heel hard on his back. I told you there was someone behind you. Why didn't you believe me? Lucas painfully lifted his face, with a hint of expectation in his tone. Isabella, the fact that you didn't kill me to take revenge after coming back means that you still have feelings for me, right? We were husband and wife after all, and we had a 5-year relationship. Please save me. I just made the mistakes that all men make. I don't want to die. Just give me some money and send me abroad. I spat on his face. Yuck. You're just a piece of shit but still think you're gold. I'm even ashamed to look at you. If you're going to die, die far away. Don't turn my shop into a haunted house. Going abroad? I don't know how to send you abroad, but I can send you to your funeral. With that, I made a phone call and asked Grace to come and take him away. I didn't kill him because I didn't want to ruin my whole life because of this scumbag. Also, living a life worse than death is more painful than death. Thinking about how he would have to lie in bed and be a useless person for the rest of his life after losing a kidney makes me happy. Lucas struggled even more fiercely. Bitch, you're so vicious. I really misjudged you. Let me go. I want to leave here. Even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. Let's break up and neither of us will have an easy life. I thought Lucas's mouth was too foul, so I went to the convenience store next door and bought a can of chili sauce. I poured the whole can into his mouth. The funny sausage lips that only appear in movies showed up on his face. He was so choked by the spiciness that he was crying and snotting, unable to say a complete sentence. He could only gasp for air on his own. Finally, the world became quiet. Grace came very quickly, accompanied by a dozen bodyguards. I yawned. Grace, Lucas has gone mad and is always talking nonsense. You'd better take him back for treatment quickly. I perfectly found an excuse for Grace regarding today's incident. It also prevented the trouble of the Grace family from involving me. Even if something bad happens to the Grace family in the future, I can use the excuse that I thought Lucas was just raving mad to get myself off the hook. After all, they are mother and son. How could I have thought that Grace would harm her own son? So, my act of notifying Grace to come and pick up her son is really quite normal. Grace gave me a meaningful look. After saying, very well, she waved her hand and asked the bodyguards to tie Lucas up tightly and then left together. Watching their disappearing figures, I let out a sigh of relief. This time, I should have completely broken off with Lucas. The next time I heard news about Lucas was on the hot search list. Mother and son turned against each other. The young master of a wealthy family killed his mother for a kidney. The president of the Grace Group died of rejection after a kidney transplant. There was chaos within the Grace Group. When I clicked on it to take a look, Lucas really went for broke. After he was taken back, just like in his previous life, one of his kidneys was removed and transplanted to President Alexander. Taking advantage of the fact that others wouldn't be on guard against him during his recovery period, he stabbed Grace to death in the hospital. At the same time, President Alexander had a severe acute rejection reaction after the kidney transplant and died on the spot despite rescue efforts. After killing Grace, Lucas was found fainted by the roadside and was sent back to the hospital. The police caught him without much effort. Everything Grace had done was made public. As a result, the Grace Group was pushed to the forefront and boycotted by the public. Moreover, with the person in power dead and without a leader, the Grace Group was on the verge of falling apart. I was so happy that I clicked on all the relevant hot searches one by one to read them carefully. I even generously gave a like. This dog-eat-dog drama made me feel refreshed. So, I went to Henry's studio again and raised my arm and shouted loudly, "Kids, we're having a day off today. The rich lady's sister is treating you. I'll take you to the leisure center to have a great time again." Henry snorted through his nose. "You're just causing trouble. We haven't finished our work for today yet." I ignored this annoying guy. Instead, I put my arms around the other younger brothers and sisters and said, "Let's go. Let's go and have fun by ourselves. Let him stay here and work overtime pitifully." Henry protested discontentedly, Hey, that's enough. How old are you? Don't play the trick of isolating others." I rolled my eyes. "Do as you like." Henry shamelessly came closer. "Don't be like that. We're a team. We should advance and retreat together, right?" The others started to jeer. "Boss, you're just being stingy. It's just that sister has a good temper. If it were someone else, they would have slapped you." Our group talked and laughed as we walked towards a bright future together.